I love playing with fire, but since the accident, my mom says I can't use the stove. So today, I'm gonna burn stuff as fast as possible in every mainline Final Fantasy game, and maybe a few bonus ones, but not the MMOs. The rules are simple. I gotta choose fire and cast it, and all the characters must be custom named because reasons. We start with the very first Final Fantasy, aptly called Final Fantasy. We name our characters Arson, Salamander, Gago, and Twas Brillig. After an unskippable cutscene, we head to the magic shop, buy our fire spell for our black mage, chat with the king, and receive some crystals. But all of that action has us hungry, and these goblins look delicious, so bring on the meat. Final Fantasy II starts with another long cutscene. We name our characters Spoopy, Spoppy, Gary, and Fireman Sam. After our first mandatory fight, we head straight to the magic shop where we buy the fire tome. We teach the spell to Spoopy and then head to the woods. And since fire beats bug, we accomplish our task within 5 minutes. The inevitable forest fire we've created is none of our business, really. The first two games were quick burns, but Final Fantasy III is a more fickle flame. This is the first game with a job system that dictates what abilities you can use, and we're aiming, of course, for the Black Mage job. So we name our characters A, Willow, Will, and Scooby-Poo. You can blame my stream chat for that. No. None of your names are stupid at all. We start out in a cold cave with no kindling to be seen and no access to spells. To escape, we fight a frozen turtle and get our first crystal, which conveniently bestows the Black Mage class. Unconveniently though, in this game you still need to purchase spells from shops for your Black Mages to use them. The first magic shop only has Poisona, and Kazusa's denizens have had their guts incinerated. To reanimate their remains, we have to get an airship and head to the sealed cave, but unfortunately we get toasted by a bunch of skeletons and mummies. My second try with Bort, Death Counter, Acid Betty, and Killjoy goes even worse, and I die. Anyway, the third try is gonna be the one. Floop, Tipo, Firaya, and Daddy grind a bit to get to a reasonable level. We fight the turtle, get the crystal, chat with some outlines, get an airship, and then head to the site of our last two deaths, the sealed cave. And this time, the mummies and skeletons are no problemo. The final obstacle is the boss of this cave, Jin, but he too is cast aside. And after the king congratulates us, we head back to Kazus, buy a fire spell, and get into a quick encounter outside the city, at which time we have a gender reveal party. The baby's gender? Fire. Too soon? Final Fantasy IV is next, and we open the game with Cecil, who kills a dragon and bombs this little girl's town into oblivion, after which she develops pyrophobia and therefore cannot cast fire. Weak. Oh, also the dragon we killed was her mom. NBD. So I guess we better come up with a plan B. Fortunately, this little girl uses Titan to garlic ranch blast us to our next town. There, we find out Cecil's girlfriend is sick and she needs some sort of MacGuffin to heal her. So we head to the underground waterway where we meet Tella. And fortunately, Tella isn't a wimp and he can use the fire spell. So Tella makes us some fricasseed frog legs. Final Fantasy V is another job-based Final Fantasy, and everyone should quit their jobs because working is a scam. Our main character is clearly able to make fire, but the only job we start with is Freelancer, which cannot cast fire. We name our little pyromaniac Flare, save Lena, and steal a pirate ship. And after we fight a phoenix-like firebird, the crystal it guards shatters, giving us our first set of jobs, which includes the Black Mage job. But we don't have the spell yet, so we ride our boat to Tool, head to the magic shop, and purchase a very hot book. And there's just one thing left to do. Final Fantasy VI is next. Terra is our first character, and in under a minute, we scorch some very rude soldiers. I hope they learned their lesson. The Final Fantasy VII protagonist is more cool than hot, and he only starts with thunder and ice equipped. We name him Flarenton, and we name Barrett Elvira. We blow up a reactor and create a fiery explosion, but that's still not fire. Then I choose not to buy any flowers from Aerith because I fear for their safety. We ride a train back to Sector 7 slums where the materia shop is not yet open. We chat with Tifa, whom we name Firea, And wouldn't you know, the TV is cheering us on. And after we get paid for our mercenary work, we blow our salary on a great green glob of fire mako. And then, at long last, we roast some lobsters to pair with our macaroni and cheese. And what good would this challenge be without everyone's favorite remake? Cloud starts out with the fire materia equipped, but the tutorial initially only allows attacking. But a little over a minute in, Cloud gets to rekindle his love of soldier by lighting some soldiers on fire. Final Fantasy VIII is my favorite Final Fantasy, and it is next. It starts with a confrontation between Squall and Cypher, and Cypher casts fire, but that does not count. And then Cypher slashes our face, which also doesn't count, because it's not fire. Anyway, we'll send him the medical bill. And we also call Squall Bill. His sexy teacher Quistis brings him back out of class, even though he deserves a day off because his face just got slashed, but instead of taking his scheduled exam, we just head out of town. And that causes Quistis to give us our first two GFs, which we call KFC and Candy. And then we get into a battle with some bugs. There's a small problem in this game though. There are two ways to cast magic. The first is by drawing a spell from an enemy and then using it on your next turn, and the second is casting the spell directly from the enemy. I do both, but ultimately I decide that using the cast command is actually more like channeling the spell through the enemy, so our final time is based on absorbing the spell and then casting it, and we get to eat roasted bug. And now that we're at the halfway point, I want to encourage you to ignite the like button if you're enjoying this flaming hot video. Thank you! Next is Final Fantasy IX, and we start by calling Zidane Tails and Vivi Fernando. Fernando's not hot and bothered quite yet, but he smolders at the thought of a good drama. So we do some stage fighting, kidnap the princess, and name Steiner Pickles. Pickles has some concerns about the super hot princess, but his attempts to thwart her kidnapping are cut short, because Fernando roasts this baked potato of a human alive in his own aluminum foil armor. Final Fantasy X is our next stop, and it's a long one. We start by naming Titus Slambert, and then we get a good look at his massive sword. He and Auron take out some tentacles, no relation to Tantacles, and we get sucked into a huge hole. And we end up in a very cold temple. Titus creates some fire, which would have been much easier if he just used the fire spell, so it doesn't count, and he ultimately is saved by a bunch of people in a boat. By the way, if you're trying to make fire, a boat will not help you. Don't buy a boat. Titus falls into another hole, wakes up in Besaid, but still, no fire. We do meet Lulu though, whose bosoms appear to have a level of warmth that is comparable to fire, but it's still not fire. Yuna flips us the bird, Wakas gives us another sword, and then we finally have control of the party. Most importantly, Lulu. We get into a battle with a water flan, and while the game encourages us to cast thunder, I'm much more interested in fire. And here's another bonus, Final Fantasy X-2. This game has a job system, and we don't start with the Black Mage job. So we sit through Dance Dance Unolution, recover Yuna's garment grid, and then head to Mount Gagazet. After we fight a giant spider, we get the Black Mage dress sphere, which comes with fire pre-learned. So a quick trip to Mihan High Road, and we cast fire on a wolf. I hope it tastes better than the bug does. We're skipping Final Fantasy XI because it's an MMO and heading right to 12, specifically the Zodiac Age. This game also has jobs. At the beginning of the game, we play as Rex, who has no access to offensive spells, and in this playthrough, he's a scaredy cat who runs from everything. Once his section is done, we move over to Vaughn. Vaughn kills some rats, and he joins a clan, and then we choose our first job, Black Mage, and purchase the fire spell. However, Vaughn needs a license to cast the fire spell, which seems like an over-involvement of the government in my private business. But anyway, Vaughn doesn't have enough license points to get the license, so we build ourselves up by fighting some wolves, we learn the spell, and then we cremate this canine. FF13 is next, and also bad, and doing this run reminded me of why it's my least favorite Final Fantasy. We start in a long hallway, which begs the question, why don't we have a hot dog to throw down it? And the answer? Well, we don't eat wieners raw. There's no progression until we become Lassie or Falsy or Chansey, not sure which one of those is right, which happens after we fight Anima. At that point, we get access to magic, but nobody yet has fire but Saz, and since we can't control him, he doesn't count. You only only control one character at a time in this game, and the rest kinda just do whatever they want, like cats. But things take a hard left turn when we have to fight the Manasvin War Mech, however you say that one, as its Crystal Rain destroys my entire team 10 times. I never got past this boss as a child because I hate this game. But in any case, I ultimately start the run over, and the second time goes much better. He ends up only killing me once, but on my next attempt to kill him, I rally and take him down. We fight 2 more birds with no fire in sight, we take out Shiva, and then finally, we get control of Saz, cast fire, and melt some machines. Hey, another bonus one. Final Fantasy 13-2. You start as Lightning, fight a dragon, and then you get control of Sarah, who knows fire innately. So it's a simple matter of jumping over God damn it. Anyway, we get into a battle and we blaze some bugs. Final Fantasy 13-3 is Lightning Returns, and this was initially going to be a bonus, but I hate this one and I couldn't figure out the battle system within an hour, so I determined that this game was a fart, and then I lit that fart on fire. Final Fantasy 15 is next, and you know this one is going to be hot because of all the man meat. And the game starts with a cutscene in which we are literally set on fire, but that doesn't count. Magic must be crafted from elemental energy, and while the crafting screen is initially available, elemental energy is not. So after we spend a bajillion years pushing a broken down car, after which a girl in a crop top blackmails us, we go fight some monsters. The first 3 sets only have ice energy, but the 4th set of enemies inside the shed has fire energy. So we craft our spell, equip it, and cast it on a baby dinosaur. Okay, it looks like we might have hit a little bit more than the dino. Oops, sorry. And before we finish things off with Final Fantasy 16, I have 3 more bonus games for you. The Tactics games. Final Fantasy Tactics is a fun one. After the tutorial battle, our job in the next battle is to gain a job level in the Chemist class. Once I've done that, I can switch one of my chemists to the Black Mage class, and they start off with enough ability points to learn fire, which means in my next battle, we can flame our friends. In Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, we're told right away that we can't be the new kid forever, but the joke's on her because I'm naming our character New Kid. We have a snowball fight and then a quick tutorial battle with some banga. Banga what? Banga who? Banga where? And then we get our next quest and head to the plains, which means we can touch grass and set it on fire at the same time. But instead, we welcome the new kid by lighting him on fire. Final Fantasy Tactics A2 is the last of the tactics games. We name our character Crisper and sit through a very long opening cutscene. We're rewarded, though, by the immediate availability of the fire spell, which we use to fry this rotund chicken. We start Final Fantasy 16 by controlling a phoenix who casts fireball. No juice, that's not fire. So after running around for a little with this super hot man, we take part in combat training. We burn our bestie, and now we have cast fire in every single... If you want to see more Final Fantasy challenges, click right here. You know you want to. See you in the next one.